And alrighty. Hey guys, Nick here from J4U Studios, and welcome to episode 30 of the J4U podcast. So this is
it's our anniversary.
Yeah, so this is important for a couple of reasons, and I'll go into all of them here now. The first one being that this is going to be our Thanksgiving special. Woo! Even though it's a couple days before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
We did it.
So, the other thing I want to bring up is, sorry for the lack of content the past, I think, 2 weeks it's been now. I've been really deep in short film stuff currently, and it's not that we don't have, per se, a lack of videos. There's not a creative problem. It's more of a time constraint problem. Like,
more time for one big thing rather than like small time for the little smaller things.
Yeah, just because like I'm looking at my whiteboard right now and we still got a crap ton of stuff that really should have came out by now, but a lot of things that I have to do still.
Yeah, like what happened to the vlog?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I've had to put on the side. But that will be coming back either this week or next week. Yeah, I started Volume 3 off with one vlog, and then we've gone on basically another volume break. But we'll be back with the rest of Volume 3 shortly. Again, it's not a lack of video things, because I already have recorded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 8 vlogs we're doing in Volume 3. And the other 2 are planned, and I'm just waiting for it to happen for me to record it.
Alright.
But yeah, and like some other things that we're doing... we got trailer reactions for some of the movies we're going to be briefly mentioning today that I still have to do. I see one of you is already asking about Transcrafters. I have some other things besides Transcrafters Season 3 that is going to come out, ideally between now and the end of the year. You'll get at least 2 more Transcrafters related videos. And then, where is Season 3? My goal was to have it out in January. But that might get pushed back just a little bit. But we'll see. I can't make any promises for anything right now. I'm just way too busy. But yeah. But it's not a lack of concept. Like, we have so much that we can make. It's not like there's a creative thing where I'm hitting a wall. It's just I haven't had the time to do it all yet. Is more so the issue.
But Nick, time is money.
Yes, which is why I'm spending it the way that I am.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But, yeah, so, I still want to apologize for that, and I'll make it up to you guys by just throwing a crap ton of videos at you guys soon, when this stuff starts slowing down a bit. But, the other thing I want to talk about here is that we got part of what I'm working on is a lot of short film stuff. So, with that, this coming week, you guys are going to get 3, maybe 4 short film related videos.
It's going to be special.
Yes. So you are going to get the cinematic cut of Life's Overwhelming Variety of Emotions, Love, the short film that came out in February. And it's way more different than I thought it was going to be, if I'm being totally honest. Originally...
You want to use Zack Snyder?
Originally, it was just going to be the film... in the 4K quality that it was filmed in, along with Dolby Digital sound, so it will sound way better. That was the original plan. But now, it's not just that. I went ahead and practically re-edited several parts of the film. So now, I'm not going to say what, but there's more at the beginning of the film. I changed some stuff in the credits. And on top of that, some of the scenes I did go ahead and re-edit. There's different color grading done to it, different color corrected. Things are trimmed and cut differently, like I moved some shots around. And I will say, the final shot of the film is different. I changed that up a little bit. It's still thematically similar, but it's a totally different shot. Yeah.
Huh. I'm excited to see what it is like.
Yeah, so
I don't know if I've seen it.
You haven't yet, no. But there's a lot more that I changed about the film. Even some of the like musical stuff, some of the notes. There's a lot of different things with it.
Hey Nick, I was going to ask, since you brought up music, did you take out the like royalty-free music at the beginning with like the makeout scene?
No.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
And that's
sure
not
'cause
actually
there's,
royalty-free music either, though. It has that kind of a sound,
really?
though. No. Well,
Hmm.
no, it's not. Technically.
Okay.
It's music
I
that
don't
we
know.
licensed.
Okay. I just asked because I remember when I first watched it, I was like, that was a weird musical cue.
But what else is there? There's the behind the scenes of the film, which is a 1 hour long documentary that is both an interview with myself. There's actual camera footage from our behind the scenes camera, footage from our table read. It's a lot of stuff, and it's an hour long, which the original draft of it was only 20 minutes. So,
Oh.
but no, I actually
That's
really
longer.
like how it turned out. It's pretty good in my opinion. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is the blooper reel, which is 17 minutes of the bloopers for the film. And I'm not going to talk about that much because I'm not going to give anything away with it, but it's pretty good, and I do recommend that you check it out.
Also, I mean, this isn't confirmed yet, but there's a possibility of a live showing of it at some point, maybe.
Maybe.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And then the fourth thing that might or might not come out is there might be a linear cut of the film, which is a film.
Oh.
The film was not in chronological order, but I didn't make a version of it that is. So that might or might not come out with everything else. So we'll see.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
It's
So
kind of like a memento cut
it
thing that they did.
explains it. If you didn't get the original cut of the film, the linear cut is a helpful guide. It's basically me holding your hand and we go through the film together.
And frolic in the film.
Yeah, so that's what the linear cut is. But yeah, so all that stuff will be coming out this week. So I'm really excited for that. And then
Yeah, I'm excited too.
the really big thing that we're going to talk about here that makes this podcast so unique is that this podcast marks the end of season 1 of the J4U podcast.
Oh man.
Because it has been about a year since we started doing the podcast regularly. And with that, the next episode is going to be the pilot for the new style of the podcast, which will come out with episode 1 of Casual Crappy Cinema, Casual Crappy Cinema, Out of Sync Stories, and Not for Families Game Night. So it will basically mark the new chapter of our podcasts.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
The new format.
Yeah.
Now this is the new content that people are waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
So where's new stuff? Well, now here it comes.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if that stuff's going to premiere in December or January yet, but we'll find out soon, hopefully, and I'll let you guys know then. So, Luke, do you have anything else to say before we get into the movie side of things?
This is like the best timing to bring this up, but I feel like I'm smelling something that's burning in my house. So actually, you talk about what you're gonna talk about first, but I'm gonna go check to see if my house is not gonna burn down.
Okay. If you don't come back, we'll know what happened.
I die on the season finale.
When is season 3 of season 3 of Transcrafters coming out? I mentioned that already. January is the goal, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it will be 2018 regardless, so don't you worry. It will be 2018. Just not sure if it's going to be like January or maybe it'll be February. Not sure yet, but it will be 2018. It will not come out this next month, but there will be other Transcrafters goodies that I'll be releasing in 2017. So it won't be season 3, but it will be other Transformer and Minecraft things. So yeah, that'll be coming out soon. Okay, so the first and biggest thing that we're going to be talking about here in the movie section of the J4U podcast is a Justice League. We're going to be doing a Justice League movie chat. This will be totally spoiler-free, so don't you worry. But yeah, I saw it opening night, Thursday night, and that was a loud bang. Yaguda?
Okay, I'm back. So I couldn't find anything that was burning, but like my garage was open for some reason. So either I'm going to get burnt down, or I'm going to be mugged and possibly stabbed live. So
Or both.
Maybe
Maybe the mugger started the fire.
I didn't start the fire. The world was burning. Sorry.
Alrighty. So, but Luke, basically, first thing we're going to talk about here is Justice League. So, again, like I was saying,
boy.
I saw it opening night, and so I've had a couple days to mull it over. In fact, I'll probably see it again. And,
Cool.
yeah, let's just kind of jump into it. So, just to kind of sum up my thoughts, and I'm going to keep this totally spoiler-free.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel it was better than Batman v Superman, but not as good as Avengers. It's in a nice kind of middle ground there.
Yeah, like it kind of wanted to be an Avengers sort of thing from, like, well, obvious reasons, but yeah.
Yes, but it's still in... I'll get into that in a sec. So, anyway,
Okay.
But, yeah, so, what was I gonna say? Totally forgot.
I don't know. What are you gonna say?
But, yeah, so I've had a couple days to kind of collect my thoughts and think about it. But it definitely had problems, but I think overall I came out pleased. There's still problems, but I came out pleased after seeing it.
It's not perfect, but it did what it needed to do.
No, with Batman v Superman, for me, it was very much so. I really liked this thing, absolutely hated this thing. Really enjoyed this part, but could not stand this part. It was very much so, everything canceled each other out, so I just ended on this note of, I don't know. Like, it was very much so, like, neutral down the line middle for me.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah. But Justice League, on the other hand, it had some problems, but overall there were more good things, I feel, in the movie than there were bad.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So, if you like Wonder Woman, then you're gonna most likely like this film because it's in that same kind of style. The tone is very much so that Wonder Woman tone.
Yeah.
In fact, Wonder Woman is the best part of the film. Her character is the strongest character, most developed character. Her character is the best part of the movie for me. With that said, Ben Affleck's Batman in Batman v Superman, I, of course, had some problems with, but overall, I liked him and wanted to see where they took his character.
Yeah, like how he would develop throughout the film.
But if I'm being totally honest, he was probably the worst part of Justice League for me.
Oh no. Really?
Yeah,
bad?
And it's not so much Ben Affleck's problem that I had a problem with, but with that said, he did annoy me more in this movie. It's more so the character of Batman in this movie.
Oh, like his character.
Yeah, he just came off very whiny, because the whole point of his character is that he's very guilt-ridden over the fact that he kind of caused Superman's death in Batman v Superman. And he's kind of feeling responsible for it. So in this movie, he's very much so guilt-ridden, and everything he's doing is trying to kind of redeem himself, but at the same time, he's doing it in such a way that is making him less redeemable. Like, he just became annoying and whiny at times.
Oh no.
And
that's not the kind of good Batman.
And everyone was worried about Aquaman being underpowered. Batman was by far the most underpowered person in this entire movie. Like, you could tell that he was the person who had no superpowers. He might as well have been the team cheerleader. Like, classic Justice League, Batman can stand his own against all these superpower people who are beside him.
Yeah, because he has, like, the technology and such.
Well, he has the technology, and he has the quick mind that he can be a better tactician and use better strategies and use the environment to his advantage and all those other things. So he couldn't stand a fight against Superman or Aquaman and all these other people. So that he kind of is on that same level as them. But in this movie, he was so clearly the old man, normal person, that it was almost painful to watch him in some of the fights because he was just doing nothing, really.
Yeah, he wasn't really doing much of any use for, like, the people who had actual superpowers and were like, God damn it, we're just the only ones doing it, and Bruce is just kind of fucking off.
Yeah, I mean, Aquaman kicked ass. Wonder Woman kicked a lot of ass. Cyborg kicked ass. The pacifist Flash had more to do in this movie than Batman in the fights. Like,
that's saying something. I mean, considering the fact that like Batman killed a bunch of people in Batman v Superman too.
That was the most useful Batman was in this movie, was when he picked up a gun and started shooting fools. If that tells you about this universe's Batman, that really disappointed me. They're the big fight.
Like cold murder.
Yeah, they're the big fight where it was kind of that Avengers moment of they were all kind of fighting together, but then there was Batman in a totally different location who just picked up a parademon gun and started blasting things.
Yeah. Oh.
Like that was a moment when I realized I had a problem with Batman in the DCEU. I liked him at the end of Batman v Superman. But it kind of hurts me seeing what they're doing with the character right now. And you can tell that Ben Affleck's been tired of Warner Bros. Shit for a long time now. And you can kind of see that that's starting to affect his acting. Because he almost has that feel of, I don't want to do this in some moments. There are some moments where you could tell he was having a lot of fun, but there are others where you could tell he was starting to balance the pros and cons a little bit. The pros of being Batman, but having to be Warner Bros. Batman. Like
Warner Bros. Bitch.
It's kind of like, we talked about this on a previous podcast. Henry Cavill had a lot of problems with Batman v Superman and the tone of that film. And I will tell you, in Justice League, it's clear that Warner Bros. Listened to him. But with that, you can tell that it's almost like Batman has the same problems with his character, but they're not listening to him. And they're just like, nah, you're fine. We're going in the right direction. You know what?
Yeah, it's
good. And you can tell that he's starting to get the feeling that he's just not being listened to. And he's just kind of like, you know what? I want to be Batman, but what you're making me do isn't Batman.
Yeah, like, this is kind of, like, not really in the spirit of the character and, like, his ideals.
And
it's more like,
I really hope that this isn't a spoiler, because, I mean, Warner Bros. Makes it out to not be a spoiler, but Superman's in the movie. Superman, this is the best Superman has been in the entirety of the DCEU.
Well, that's good, I guess.
He is the Boy Scout Superman that I know I've wanted for a long time now. He's
thank God.
Literally, the first scene he's in is kind of a flashback to that between Man of Steel before Batman v Superman time period, where he just saves some people, does some stuff, and these kids walk over and start recording on their phone, and they start interviewing him, and he's like classic comic book, oh yeah, I'll answer your questions, like, and they ask the kind of cute questions, and he gives them that, like, Superman is, like, one of the questions is, does that really mean hope? And he's like, yes, it does. And then one of the kids goes, but it looks like an S. And it's a very cute moment, but there's a lot of things like that where it's like, you get that Boy Scout Superman, like, during one of the fights, there's even the, here, let me help you with that, as he, like, grabs the supervillain's arm and then throws him into a wall type thing. Like, it's that classic, almost campy Superman lines, and it's so good.
Why can't we have like more campy aspects in like superhero films instead of just trying to take itself like, even like in some ridiculous moments, really seriously?
Yeah, just because Superman, this is, again, like, I know I've said this, but this is the best we've seen Superman. Even his interactions with some of the other Justice League moments were really good. Like, he and the Flash had some good moments. I'm not gonna say what they are, but it worked out really well. Cyborg. I've been one of the biggest critics of his designs from day one. But I will say, in this movie, Cyborg didn't bug me as much as I thought he would. But part of that is like because...
visually or as a character?
As a character and visually. But I will say, that's partly because for the first half of the movie, he's very much so embarrassed of the way he is. So he's wearing a hoodie that covers up 95% of the CGI.
Oh.
So when that was on, I was like, yeah, keep him in the hoodie the whole movie. Heck yeah, he looks fine. But as soon as he...
also, like, intimidating, too.
Yeah,
in that way.
But as soon as he abandoned the hoodie and you saw him all chromed out in 99% CGI, that's when I was like, okay, could you not? CGI didn't look as bad as it did in the trailers. There were some moments where the way it shined and things didn't look right. But overall, Cyborg, I was like, I expected you to be worse. Which is the whole theme of the movie. I went in with low expectations. So
yeah, like dirt low.
So the movie was not as bad as I expected it to be. Flash is another good character who I think they did really well. He's basically Spider-Man from Civil War. That is his character.
Oh, okay.
He's very much so I'm just happy to be here. I don't know what to do. I'll figure it out though, right? And Batman's kind of his Tony Stark, takes him under the wing. So that was a neat relationship there. But I will say Flash was very enjoyable. And he had some good moments of physical comedy too. There was one moment where the Justice League was fighting this one person, and Flash is running up like, you know what? I'm gonna go help them. And then the person they're fighting does something, and he's like, nope, never mind, I'm out. Okay, later. Nope, never mind. Like, he had a lot of funny moments like that. I will say a lot of not just his best moments, but the movie's best moments were shown in the trailer, so that pissed me off. But
I also heard that, like, most of the footage that was shown in the trailers actually didn't show up in the movie.
I'll explain that in a little. Remind me, because the production behind the film was a horrible mess. Like, the film...
I know about that.
Yeah, but anyway, but the moment that sums him up the best was in one of the trailers where he says, I don't really fight people. I just run towards them, push them over, and run away. Like, that's the Flash that you're getting in this movie. The very unexperienced, hey guys, I'm new to this. I'll do my best, but I can't really promise you much, Flash. Which I thought was great.
Like, no guarantee with, like, how good I'll be as a crime fighter in this situation.
And let me turn on my light, 1 second. I'm noticing chroma key starting to... Since we're doing this podcast later than we normally do, starting to act up a little. There we go. But yeah, Aquaman. He was a little too surfer bro for me.
Oh.
I'm glad that they went with this version of Aquaman as opposed to the, short blonde hair, Justin Bieber looking Aquaman. But still, I think they went a little too overboard with it. I didn't get King of Atlantis vibes from him. I got
like you couldn't see like dude who controls like an entire city of people, since like he's pretty surfer duty.
Yeah, and his lines, the way he talks, the way he acts, I very much so got the I live in Malibu and I surf all the time vibe.
Kind of a dude bro-esque.
He was very dude bro-esque, yeah. So I'm hoping that James Wan cleans up his character in Aquaman, but just from this film, I can't say that, like, I'm totally in favor of him. Like, what I wanted was the Aquaman we got in the Justice League animated show, which looked like Jason Momoa's Aquaman, but he did not act like that. He acted more like the total badass, the very, much so kind of reserved, like, where if someone did the Batman line of, I hear you talk to fish, he'd freaking beat the crap out of him for saying that. Like, Aquaman in this movie was more so the, you talk to fish? Yeah, bro! Like, it just didn't pull me over as much.
To hang out with, though.
Yeah, he had some badass moments, but overall was a little too surfer bro for me. Even in the fight, for him, it looked more like he was just having fun. Like, he was just like, yeah, let's do this, bro! Like,
I don't know about you, but that sounds like he'd be fucking great.
Yeah, you might like it, Luke. You might appreciate it. It just wasn't the Aquaman that I was looking for.
Fisher, by the way.
That's true. Steppenwolf as a villain was very bland. In fact, I kind of question why, for what they did with the movie, why they chose Steppenwolf. It feels to me like they could have made it Darkseid, but just didn't want to so they could save him for a later date. But, like, he was very much so... What?
I think I know why they made it Steppenwolf. Because DC needed to Steppen up.
Oh, they didn't with Steppenwolf. He was basically... he was pretty much just generic bad guy of, I'm going to come to Earth and destroy Earth. Those were his motivations.
So like the Dark Elves, the freaking
yes, he's basically
blue guy
the Dark
from
Elves.
Guardians Galaxy.
Yeah,
Was he British?
No. I don't think
fit
so.
all the criteria.
Yeah.
Damn it.
He's basically Ronan the Accuser. That would be a good way of, kind of a good parallel. But yeah, the stakes weren't very high. I'll say that. You never got that feeling of, oh wow, if they don't do this, world's gonna end. Like, the script said it would happen, but you visually never got that feeling. They never gave you any stakes there.
Yeah, it wasn't like...
In fact,
it didn't feel like as intense as it could have been.
The final battle basically took place in an abandoned town. So it's like...
Oh, okay.
There just wasn't that connection. Like, the best comparison I can give to why Steppenwolf was not a good villain, and I hate comparing it to Avengers, but I'm gonna compare it to Avengers. Loki was a good villain in Avengers.
Yeah.
He had that personality to him, and even though he was doing basically the classic villain things, the character and reasons why they had a better impact. Whereas Steppenwolf in this movie was very much so, I'm gonna do this because I want to do this. That was it.
Yeah. Just not really much of a motivation.
But
it's like, I don't like things.
But this film, there were some flaws. I went to the IMAX showing, and
oh really?
Apparently this wasn't a problem in the regular release, but in the IMAX, the framing was awful in some moments.
The framing?
Yeah.
Oh, was it because of the enlarged image sort of thing?
I mean, I think kind of, but like it was simple things like headroom made no sense. There's some shots where the headroom was like, okay, you couldn't have moved the camera just a little bit closer. And other moments where it cut off at the eyes, like.
Yeah. Oh wait, at the eyes?
Yeah, to where the eyes were the top of the frame. There were not even like really any eyebrows.
Oh.
And I
didn't know then. That's weird.
I saw that shot and I was like, what are you doing? Because it wasn't even like, it was literally Bruce was talking and he was like using his hands and all that. It was a wide shot, but the top of the frame was at his eyes. And I was like, why? Why are you doing that?
Oh, was it like focusing on his hands or something?
No, it was focusing on him. He was talking.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I was like, wait, what?
Maybe see if if you do see it regularly, see if it does the same thing, and maybe it's just
I talked to someone.
Shitty cinematography, or just like the production fucking up in some way.
Yeah, I want to say that it was a projection. I want to give the film the benefit of the doubt there, but
yeah,
because I talked to someone who saw it regularly, and they said they didn't notice it, and they're the kind of person who normally notices that thing. So I'm kind of inclined to believe that either it was the IMAX version or the projector. But I just saw that and was like, did you go to the fundamentals of composition? Like,
what's a framing?
Yeah. CGI was a mixed bag. There were some moments where I was like, that looks pretty good. Like, Cyborg had some moments where I was like, wow, okay. If the whole movie looked like that, I wouldn't mind the CGI on Cyborg. There were other moments where, like, during the final fight, where I was like, okay, this is a little much. It was the classic Zack Snyder. You can tell that 95% of the shot that you're looking at is CGI.
Nothing is there.
Yeah, like, some of the shots from the trailer that I complained about in my reactions, though, they looked a little bit better, but it was still just a little much. Like, anyway, but now moving on to some of the problems with production, because this is part of why I'm giving the film a little bit more leeway, I feel, is just because I know everything that they went through in production, and it's a miracle this film ever came out. But just for you guys who don't know, let me kind of go over it. The first and biggest thing to happen to this film was about halfway through, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. And he tried pushing on for a couple of months afterwards, but he couldn't bring himself to it. It was just a little too much, so he had to step away from the project. So with that, Joss Whedon came in, and he directed the rest of the film. And when he came in, he did a lot of rewrites in the script and did a lot of reshoots. And I'll tell you, while watching it, you can tell some of the moments that were very much so Joss Whedon. Where I was watching it and I was like, yeah, I bet in Snyder's version that was different. That wouldn't have made it in.
Yeah. I saw on Twitter, like, a couple of people have made, like, threads about scenes that are just, like, missing or just been regularly added in for no reason.
Not so much, yeah, like, one shot I'll tell you that was, there was a lot of one-liners that were very much so like, yep, that's a Joss Whedon moment. Like, this isn't really a spoiler, but I'll still give a spoiler warning. Mute the video for the next minute. It's very brief, but just to give you an example of a moment that was very Joss Whedon-y for context, it was where Superman and Batman, they weren't really fighting per se, but Superman was still a little pissed at Batman for Batman v Superman. So he just kind of pushed Batman aside, but before he did that, he said, so tell me, do you bleed? And then he did the push thing, and then about a little bit later, it cut back to Batman, and he's just lying on the ground going, yep, something's definitely bleeding. Like,
damn it.
That's a very Joss Whedon joke.
Yeah.
But it felt tonally like it was the film's equivalent to the Hulk throwing Loki around thing from Avengers, or that shot in Avengers where Hulk and Thor are standing next to each other and Hulk just pushes his fist out and Thor goes flying. It was very much so one of those moments. Like, it was very much a Joss Whedon shot.
Yeah, but and then again, like, with, like, the way the film is probably set up by that point, it just doesn't work as well.
I wouldn't say it doesn't work. It just stands out a little bit more. You can tell that Joss Whedon would never have made that joke. He's like, no, that...
okay.
Do you bleed? That's a very serious line. I wouldn't make a joke about that. Whereas Joss Whedon's like, what are you talking about, dude? That line's so stupid.
Yeah, something kind of like like just looking at it in different ways and such.
Yeah. But there's a lot of moments where, or not a lot, there are a few moments where I was like, huh, I actually like that. Oh, that's the Joss Whedon thing. Okay. Like, even the end of the film, Zack Snyder had a different version of the ending of the film. Where it was, because it was supposed to be Justice League Part 1 and Justice League Part 2. Joss Whedon, or maybe Zack Snyder did this before he lumped, but either that or it was Joss Whedon who looked at that and went, no, that's stupid, and gave it a capped off ending. Because initially it was going to end where Part 2 was going to begin. Like, as in the original version of the film, Justice League defeats whatever and does the stuff, and then they're like, but guess what? Darkseid's here, bitch. And they're like, oh no, and then jump into Justice League 2. It doesn't do that in this film. It's very much so, hey, film's over. Okay, it's sealed. It's done.
Everybody go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Which I'm glad they made that change. Could you imagine watching 3 hours of a movie just for it to go, oh, but it's not over yet. Come back for Part 2.
Oh, the next one. Ooh.
So,
yeah, that probably would not be that great.
Yeah, but the other thing that happened as a result of the reshoots was that Henry Cavill by that point was already working on the new Mission Impossible movie, and for that movie he has a big old mustache, and that he couldn't shave it because he was working on Mission Impossible. So Warner Bros. Had to CGI out the mustache, which was...
Yeah, that was really funny, actually.
Yeah.
Does it look noticeable on the film?
So I didn't notice that the upper lip was CGI'd. I noticed that in some shots it looked like they did something to his face, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But afterwards I was like, oh yeah, it's a mustache. Like, it almost looked like his face was a little bit shinier, was the thing I noticed. But it was because they had to CGI out the mustache.
I hope I can find this. I found this picture that's just, like, really funny to me, if I can find it. That's, like, a screenshot from...
Henry Cavill in the Superman suit, but with the mustache?
No, it's the one with the butt chin. Like, there's a screenshot of the movie where Henry Cavill has a butt chin, and it's like, you didn't have a butt chin, like that looked like that, at least. And he's just, like, making, like, the most... like confusing face while doing it. But yeah, like that's just like what I was thinking of it being like if it was that sort of deal.
But,
and let me see if I can find it on here.
Yeah, but the other big thing that happened to this film was that before this film came out, Warner Bros. Put out a mandate that they will not be releasing films over 2 hours. And Zack Snyder's version of Justice League was like over 2.5 hours, like almost 3 hours, like Batman v Superman was. So they had to cut out like almost an hour of the film. So the film feels a little bit rushed. But with that said, because they cut so much out, it almost left me wanting more. Like, I left the theater going, I'd watch another 15 minutes to half an hour of the film. Whereas if the film was 3 hours long, I definitely would not be saying, yeah, I'd watch some more. So that was the one benefit I saw to the mandate. But with that said, there were a lot of moments of the film where you could feel like, oh man, this is going to be really, oh, and it's over. Okay, well then. Like, things got resolved very quickly. So, that was the price it was paid for that. Because the film came out to about an hour and 59 minutes. Which is crazy because before it was like over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, like all of them were like in that general ballpark.
So cutting out that much of a film that you feel is complete is gonna do a little bit of damage. So
yeah,
it wasn't though. I didn't feel like I was missing a lot though. It just felt like things were getting resolved quickly.
Yeah, just kind of like just going a bit too quickly for some good in some areas.
Yeah, it was just like, oh man, this is gonna be cool. It's really building up. It's gonna be, and it's over.
Yeah, that's like, well, all right.
Okay, well,
kind of came to a bit of a thud.
I think that's about all I have to say for Justice League. The rest of my thoughts I'm gonna save for my movie review, but I just want to get the majority of them out there because I don't know when my movie review is coming out because of the short film stuff. So I wanted there be some place where I talk about Justice League and people who want to know my thoughts can hear my thoughts.
Yeah. Also, did you get the picture?
No, let me check here.
It's on direct messages.
Yeah, I'll show this. That's pretty great. Okay.
It is pretty good. Someone I knew on Twitter just put in the caption, he should have been the Crimson Chin instead. And it's like, god damn it. But yeah, like, something about, like, that shot looks so weird. Like, it doesn't look like... It kind of looks like his face was digitally, like, put onto, like, a different actor's face or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't notice a butt chin, but...
Yeah.
There's just an odd shine. That was the thing that I noticed. And it wasn't in every shot. It was just in a couple shots. It was, like, kind of how DC apparently doesn't know lighting when it comes to, like...
I guess so, yeah.
It was almost like that kind of look, how, like, Cyborg, sometimes because of the chrome armor, looks abnormally shiny. Like, in situations where he shouldn't look shiny, he looks shiny. It was the same thing with Henry Cavill's face at times. I'm like, I don't think your face should be that lit up.
Yeah.
That's all I
guess
really
they're trying
noticed.
to brighten up the films a little bit.
Oh my god, the color... Oh. Okay, I guess I'll mention this. I thought I was done, I guess I'm not. Superman's suit is actually blue and red. Not fucking navy blue and maroon like it's been in all the other movies. It's a nice...
blue-red.
Yeah. Like, I want to say this was Joss Whedon, but, like, the colors popped more. There was one shot near the end where they were all standing next to each other, and I was like, wow, this doesn't look desaturated. This shot looks great. Wow. Like,
yeah, that looks nice.
Because Superman was where his suit looked very nice and, like, I don't know if I want to say bright, but more vibrant blues and reds. Wonder Woman, the golds and reds really popped. Even Batman, the new armored suit, is kind of silver and black, not gray and black, so he had a bit of a shine to him. Cyborg was chrome. Flash's costume looked better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a nice bright red suit with some gold on it. Aquaman was green and gold. Like, there's a lot more color.
Yeah, like the colors, and they worked better.
Yeah. So, because after watching this film, I rewatched some of the shots from Batman v Superman and forgot how desaturated everything looked. Like, it's night and day difference between Justice League and Batman v Superman for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There are some
Yeah.
shots where it was still a little meh, but
like
I didn't
the-
notice it really that much. It was definitely a lot more color overall. Sometimes with that final fight, a little too much color because all the color was CGI.
Yeah, that's a bit too much.
Well, yeah, that end battle, it was in that abandoned town, and just it, because everything there was CGI, and they had a red sky.
Oh
Just
yeah, the
red sky,
I believe in
heavy
red.
smoke over everything, which made it harder to see to hide up the bad CGI. It just made it less relatable. Like, I couldn't go, oh, like, from, again, comparing it to Avengers, like, New York is like, oh, wow, there's a lot of people who live there. It's a big old city. Blue sky and broad daylight. I can tell that that's New York City. Here it was just generic abandoned town with red sky and a lot of smoke. So,
and I'd assume it's probably not the most appealing thing on the eyes to look at for like a 30-minute segment.
the part of Batman v Superman where they fought in Gotham was more appealing. Like,
Yeah.
because that was a city. This, until they moved to that abandoned island. Then it got a little bit more bleh. But this was like that abandoned island part. Like, it's just kind of barren.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like very...
A weird decision they made was that city where the fight happens. Throughout the film, they cut back to a family who lives there. It's just a random family.
Oh,
There's no significance to it other than when the parademons arrive, the family's like, oh shit, we gotta stay inside and hide. Right before the League comes in, they're like, man, this still sucks. Then when the League shows up, they're like, oh wow, stuff's getting real, let's drive away.
Okay. Oh.
I can't believe that didn't make the cutting room floor.
Yeah. It was like, why is that here? Okay.
The only payoff was that driving away put them in a little bit of peril that the Flash saved them from.
Alright.
But I'm
I
like,
guess it was that.
I don't really get why they needed to do that, other than to show the town wasn't totally abandoned. But they were the only people you saw there.
Oh, cool. It's like, we gotta add in, like, tension to the scene. It's like, but how? There's nobody here. It's like, just add, like, a couple people, maybe, I guess. Not really all that many people.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's going to be the end of my Justice League thoughts. I'll put out a review at some point where I'll go more in depth about some of the things, and probably a spoiler video where I talk about the spoilery stuff. But yeah, so Luke, I've talked enough. I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about Wondrstruck and then the Snowman.
Alright, so I'm going to talk kind of briefly about Wondrstruck because I have a lot more to say about the next film. But, okay, so Wondrstruck, I was actually pretty excited to see this film because, for one thing, the director has made a couple films recently that have been getting some pretty good praise, like Carol, which was nominated for a lot of Oscars. And so I was excited to see this one because it was an adaptation of a book by the guy who did Hugo. Which the movie for that was done by Martin Scorsese. So, it's like, oh, what could this entail? And it was really underwhelming. Well, for one thing, first, the theater I saw it in was completely empty. I was the only one there. Like, I was like 5 minutes late to getting to the theater, so like previews were already starting, and I was like, oh, I hope I get some, decent seats at least, because I'd assume maybe like, it'll have like a market with like old people or something like that, considering it's like it takes place in an older generation or whatever. Fucking no one there. I was the only one there. They probably would have stopped the movie if I didn't show up at the time I did. But yeah. So, like, I had everything for me to, like, absolutely love this movie, like experience-wise, because, like, nobody there, like, I was having a shitty day, so it's like, alright, I'm ready to love the shit out of this movie, as everyone else who has seen it before has said. And I didn't really like it that much. Like, for one thing, like, I've been noticing more and more about, like, how editing is used in film recently, because like this was an example of really choppy like story structure and all that, because the basic plot is there's this kid who lives in the 1970s who's looking for his father in Manhattan, my father.
Looking for the father.
Father, the Father and Son, Holy Spirit. But he's looking for his dad in Manhattan, and he's trying to find like where he lives. And while this is happening, another timeline is going on in 1920s of this girl trying to find her mother in Manhattan, and it's supposed to kind of show like the connection between the two. And you know, like for one thing, I find the 1970s kind of timeline a lot more interesting than 1920s one because they did the whole 1920s thing in kind of a silent film style,
What?
which yeah, like I can get that because also shit, I forgot to mention one other thing. The two kids are deaf for some reason. Like one of them we see how, the other one is just kind of born with it, but like the girl is deaf, so there's a reason for it to be a silent film, but God doesn't just drag on. Like every time I cut back to it, it's like, please no, just go back to the 1970s thing. That was much more interesting because, you know, it's like I like the kind of pulpy, very grimy 1970s look of the set design and such, and like the kid kind of like doing an adventure around this place and like the museums and all that sort of thing is like had the actual kind of wonder to it, whereas the one with the girl is just so fucking boring, just like all right. And like she has more of a character than the kid does, but even then it's just like, God, I can't. It's just so slow and just doesn't flow like whatsoever. It's just and that's not even to say that the 1970s portions are exempt from problems, because like they have issues too. Like for one thing, like the two timelines don't transition like when they cut back and forth at all. Like it's just so like awkward and choppy at times. That and just there's like character moments where like they get mad at each other and do like the whole like I'm not friends with you anymore. And it's like, oh no. But like it's like they could have been resolved so easily that like I couldn't give like care less.
Like, it didn't have any stakes to it.
It didn't have any stakes to it. Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty much a stakeless kind of film.
Man, they should join the Justice League.
But and I don't even like necessarily dislike films that don't have any stakes to them, because there's some great like plotless kind of films, but this one seems like it's trying so hard to be important, and it's just like I don't know what your point is though. Like, and it's got some like techniques that are like good in concept but are badly executed. Like the score seems to be like a mesh of like a whole bunch of instruments sometimes, and you know, like sometimes it can work, but then there's just music choices that are so like don't fit the moment. Like when the kid first gets to Manhattan and goes onto like the very crowded streets, I like to think like it would have been more effective if they did like what they were using a lot, which was just a very silent kind of like, you know, like the sound of the kid just like looking around the place and just observing it without any sound, so we get the perspective of him. But instead we get like some 70s music in the background. Is like, okay, sure, why not? And that's the other thing, like that scene goes on for what feels like 5 minutes of just like looking at people like, look, it's the 70s and New York. There's people on the streets playing, you see? And it's like, yeah, you see, get to the point, go on, get on with it. But yeah, it just felt like it could have been half the length that it was in many moments. And it just sucks because there are legitimately great moments that are actually like effective emotionally in what they were trying to get across. And then there's just other themes where it's like, okay, come on, please just get on with this shit already. And yeah, it's kind of like a situation where I just feel bad that I couldn't really get into it all that much, because it has passion put into it. Like some of the cinematography was kind of cool, if a bit wobbly in some like movements, but like, you know, it is visually interesting. I just wish the story was better. But yeah, but that being said, it like I've seen a good amount of like bad movies this year. Like, you know, like you probably know, because I've told you about them on this podcast.
Yep.
And so what a way to end off like our discussion of movies for the first season, then talk about what might be one of the most disjointed films I've ever seen, structurally, like editing, like in every single possible way to be considered a film. That movie is The Snowman.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few things about it.
Yeah, so I feel like also before I get into it's probably better to kind of give some context as to what the filmmaking was like, because like you're talking about with Justice League, that had like a production nightmare, like trying to be like released and all that.
Yeah.
So this film was based off a book, like a Swedish crime novel that I guess is actually pretty well received. I never read it, so I couldn't really say, but you know, it's like it's well received. That's the main thing. And so it's going to be adapted for American and British audiences. Originally by motherfucking Martin Scorsese. He was going to be the director of this film, and I guess like after a while the project just didn't really go anywhere, so he was just sort of like, I'll be a producer if it ever does get off the ground, but I'm not going to direct this. Once they finally got all the people that they needed to make this film, they were like constricted on actually being able to film it because like the amount of time that they could, because you know they kind of dicked around trying to find who they were gonna make the movie with. So they had, from what I remember, like 30 shoot days to finish like a 2 hour to 2.5 hour film.
Jeez.
Yeah, and even with that, once those 30 days were up, they didn't get to like film like 10 to 15% of the script.
Cool.
That's like say you're reading a book and then just like 10 to 15% of the book is just gone, then you're just like, there'll just be pages that just don't make sense. And like this, and so yeah, so they were like $35 million later in a production budget, we have The Snowman, and like, Jesus fucking Christ. I guess like, since I take personal preference into like my reviews of films, like it's not the worst film I've seen this year, but on a technical like storytelling and just like craftsman level, it is like, wholeheartedly it is. So I'll try to give like a brief plot synopsis. So
okay.
The story follows a like about a serial killer who's been going around murdering different women, and doing so by leaving, like, as his calling card, Snowman. Yeah, that's his calling card. Like 7 Deadly Sins and that. I am the Zodiac. It's fucking Snowman. And then we are introduced to our protagonist, incredibly professional detective by the name of, and I shit you not, Harry Hole. Harry fucking Hole is his name.
Oh, that sounds like one of the names you put on like a name tag as a joke.
Yeah, or
like the "Hi, I am Harry Hole."
Yeah, and you know what's the funniest thing? Like, the reason that they have that name is because they actually mistranslated the original last name of the character from the book.
Oh, you're serious?
It's like I think it was like either Swedish or from Norway, so like it was like Harry Hula or Hole or something like that. And so just like translating it, you know, it's like, you know, we're gonna keep it, but what are we gonna change it to? It's like Harry Hole. He's fucking Harry Hole now.
I feel like even if that was the correct translation, though, just change it. It's better to have him be like Jim Hole or Harry Smith than fucking Harry Hole.
Harry Johnson or something. Like, even though that would be funny, even it would still sound like an actual name. But
or Harrison Hole. No,
Harrison
like
Hole,
Harrison Johnson.
Harrison Johnson, yeah. See, that has like a nice name. But yeah, so that's our main character. His name is Harry Hole. He's basically the generic alcoholic detective. Like, I am shitty with human interaction, but I'm good at my job, I guess. But actually not really, because he fucking never does much of anything detective-wise that's really that helpful. And so yeah, it follows him on his chase to find this Snowman killer, and like this film isn't finished. Like, I know that I said like 10 to 15% of the movie was not filmed and all that, and you know, like, oh, they could probably find ways to fix that, but this isn't finished. Like, they didn't get to reshoot any of the scenes they didn't get.
Oh.
So there's just scenes that are literally made out of fucking B-roll.
Like, what? Really?
There's a scene where, like, okay, so they're driving down the road and like they get like a call from someone, and Michael Fassbender, who is Harry Hole, by the way.
Oh, Michael Fassbender's in this.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender's
Feel bad for him. Oh, poor guy.
I do too. I really fucking do too. And so he gets a call up on the phone as like, we need you to come back to the police station. He's like, I gotta turn around. And the only thing we see as he's saying this is like just a shot, like a wide shot of a car like driving down a road. We don't even see him turning around, and it's like a voiceover. Like, we don't see him in the car. He's just in the car, like from like a far away shot. So he's never actually in the car. We never see him turn around. It just jump cuts to like the next part. This is the level of editing we're going for, because that's all they could go with. And just, this movie is like you know how like mysteries have like all these like certain aspects and like characters and little things that all lead to something in the end that actually makes it all satisfying in like a fulfilling thriller mystery.
Yeah.
This movie is a bunch of fucking red herrings and then a dumbass ending. Like, most of the entire middle of this movie is just things that don't amount to anything in the end.
Oh, really?
I kind of want to spoil it, since I know probably no one's going to want to see this movie anyways, and nobody has. But would it be alright if I did?
Yeah, I think it's been out for long enough. Let me throw up a spoiler tag, though, just to be safe.
Yeah, because it got like it has a budget of $35 million and it got a current grossing of like 34. Ooh. After being out for like almost 2 months now, I think. But yeah, just let me know when the tag's up.
All right, tag is up.
All right, so there's a couple of moments. Like, for one thing, there's a whole subplot with like some sort of like corruption going on in the current Olympic Games going on in Norway, which that has nothing to do with the story. There's a subplot with J.K. Simmons as a character who...
Oh, J.K.'s in this too.
Yeah, and he tries to do a British accent that sucks so bad. It's so awful. And so there's a subplot with him being kind of like a perverted businessman, and him like, you know, like some sort of possible connection with him and the killer, because the killer like kills women that disapproves of him in some way. But that goes fucking nowhere either. What else? Val Kilmer shows up in the movie for like 2 scenes, and he's dubbed.
Oh.
And like, and you want to know how they hid the dubbing? Well, like,
how?
They didn't hide it in a couple moments, but okay. So there's moments where, like, of the 2 scenes, there's like one that's like a shot reverse shot kind of style scene, but instead of shot reverse shot, it's more like shot shoulder shot. Like, so the guy that's talking to Val Kilmer, they'll show like a regular shot of him, and sometimes they'll show Val Kilmer, but like whenever Val Kilmer talks, it's just the back of his head, and it sounds nothing like him. And whenever it does cut to him talking, it's like one of those horribly bad dubbed kung fu films from like the 1970s. It's like, it's matches not even slightly.
See, on the one hand, I really feel bad for the production team on it, like especially if they got people like J.K. Simmons, who's a freaking Oscar winner. Like,
he is.
I feel bad for the team, but at the same time, if you went through all that hell, how did it still get a wide release? Just make it a limited release.
Yeah, but I feel like nothing I just discussed like amounts to what the ending is like, because that is like a cacophony of garbage that's both unintentionally hilarious, mind-blowing, and just like life-killing. And I'll tell you basically kind of what it was. So by the end of the film, we find out who the killer is. He's kidnapped like a couple people, one of them being like Michael Fassbender's character's assistant. He catches up to him, and it chases him on to like a frozen lake, and like it's really foggy a little bit, and then just like Michael Fassbender, like a fucking idiot, is just yelling, "Where are you? Where are you?" And it's like, where is he gonna probably shoot you in the back, which he does get shot in the back. Then he's lying on the ground. Then the killer has like a big old like dumb monologue about I am the Snowman killer and all that. And then just like in the middle of his speech, no sound effect whatsoever, he breaks through the ice that's on this frozen lake, falls into the water, and dies immediately. And it like this is a frozen lake. It's not like thin ice. It's like pretty thick ice. So he breaks through the ice, falls in, dies immediately with no struggle whatsoever. Just dies immediately. And I just was laughing for at least like 5 minutes at that. It's so good. That's how it and by the way, just like right after this, the movie ends like 2 minutes later with him with Michael Fassbender being like, okay, I guess he's dead now. He saves the people that were tied up, goes back to police station. Over at the police station, like people like, all right, we got like a new case or whatever. Who's gonna take it? And then Michael Fassbender's like, I'll take that. And then it cuts to black, and then it ends. That's how it ends.
So my 2 takeaways from that are, how great would it have been if after the Snowman killer fell through the ice, Michael Fassbender's character is like, it's over. And then he falls through the ice as well, and it cuts to black and it's over.
That would have been a better ending, in all honesty. Because honestly, his character was an asshole. Like, he had a, like, he is, like, the most, like, he's like a character who's tries to be pathetic, but is not, like empathetic enough to really make you care about him. Like, he's essentially like an alcoholic, like, I'm divorced or whatever, and that sort of thing. And he has like a moment to like reconnect with his kid at one point, and then he fucks that up by just getting drunk again. It's like, dude, you want to do this, so why are you just okay? Sure, why not? It's just like, oh man, this is a good movie. But yeah, that's the cinematic masterpiece known as the Snowman.
Okay then. Well, I'm gonna take the spoiler tag down, and let's never talk about that movie again, unless it makes your worst list.
It will most definitely make my list.
Okay, well, now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the gaming side of things, but before I do, shout out to Incredibles 2 and Deadpool 2. They just had trailers that came out this week. We're not going to talk about them, though, because I have not seen them yet, because I need to do trailer reactions, and I haven't had time to do my trailer reactions yet. So, if you haven't seen them yet, go see them, and we'll talk about it on probably the first episode of the new podcast.
Cool.
Or Out of Sync Stories, whichever comes first.
Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, so, anyway. Gaming time.
Yeah, fun time this time.
So, first thing I want to talk about is something that totally slipped under the radar of the gaming community as a whole. Is there is a new Planet of the Apes game that
wait.
Yep. They didn't announce it until literally about a week ago, and it comes out in about a week.
I'm looking this up right now.
And it actually looks pretty good. I saw the trailer for it, and it's kind of interesting. It's called Planet of the Apes Last Frontier. I messed it up in the description, but yeah, it's Planet of the Apes Last Frontier. And it looks pretty interesting. I can't tell from the trailer I saw if you're playing as an ape or a human, but it looks like a human. But it is in the same tone as the new Planet of the Apes movies, so I'm really excited.
That's pretty cool.
Let me just update description there. There you go. But yeah, so it almost, like, when I saw it, it almost gave me, like, Last of Us vibes, so I'll be curious. Not in so much of story, but gameplay and graphics. So I'll be curious. Yeah. I really hope that it's good, because if it is good, I'll 100% buy it.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
It sounds like it'd be super cool.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I can't believe we haven't talked about it yet, but we didn't have a podcast last week because I was out of town. But Call of Duty World War II. This is the Call of Duty's most recent game that is a step in the previous direction, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Prior to World War II, they were moving in that more futuristic route with Infinity War and Advanced Warfare, and it just wasn't a great feel. It didn't feel like Call of Duty. So this time around, they returned back to their roots with Call of Duty World War II, and it takes place in World War II. It still has that same kind of Call of Duty, very quick-paced action feel to it, but you can tell they actually put a lot more time into it. They clearly cared a lot more. From what I've seen, the maps are okay, but it's not really the maps that stand out. It's the actual gameplay. There's no jetpacks. There's no nothing like that. It's purely, you get a gun, you run around, and you shoot people. There's no jetpacks. Yeah. There's no wall running. It's classic Call of Duty, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see it go back to, like, the original, like, way it was before.
And
so sorry if you heard that was part of my dad.
And with that, Zombies is also looking pretty nice from what I've seen. I was listening to something where the devs of the zombie side of things talked about it, and they put a crap ton of work into it. There's, like, a whole bunch of different types of zombies that have different designs, and the zombies legit look freaky. They did not hold back. They're like, this is a rated M game. We're gonna make them look messed up, and they do. Like, there are zombies where you can tell, like, the skin has all burned off of them.
Oh man!
Like, there are ones where it's basically their head is more skull-like. There are zombies that have had their arms cut off, and basically the mindset that they had when making it is, because the Nazis were kind of leading in science at that time. What would their zombies look like if they were just trying to make soldiers that were for the sole purpose of just cannon fodder? Just go in there. If they take out some people, great. Just to wreck shop. So there's been one of the zombies is basically just like half metal. Like, I'm not going to drone on for too long, but Zombies looks really cool. I haven't seen a whole lot for the campaign, but multiplayer looks really cool, really fun. And I did a poll a while back asking you guys what games you wanted us to play. And Call of Duty World War II won by a long shot. So I will be picking it up and we'll be doing some live streams of it. So just wanted to make that announcement now.
Will that be like next couple of days, or is it going to be like...
I'll probably pick it up Black Friday time, but I might not play it till a little while afterwards. But yeah, it will be the first Call of Duty game I've bought since Ghost. So,
okay.
And Ghost came out ages ago. Maybe 4 years ago
like
or so.
2013, I think.
Yeah. Oh wow, I guess 4 years ago. Wow. But yeah, anyway, but I'm excited for that. Next on the list, Battlefront 2 came out. That's the game that I've been excited for a long time. I bought the first Battlefront. I played it a lot, but it definitely had a lot of problems. First off, it was extremely limited. It was basically just, there was a multiplayer, and they had only a couple of planets, but each planet had a few maps to it. And then the basically campaign, if you call it that, was basically one of those survival missions where it's like, how many waves can you survive type of thing. That was really the game. I don't think it should have been... It did feel like a $60 game. It should have been maybe like a $30 game. It was very pretty. The sound design was amazing. The game itself was great. It was just not very... There just wasn't much to it. Like, if they had more in the game, then 100% it would be amazing. but it was just so limited. So it looked like, in many regards, EA learned from their mistakes. This game now has a real campaign to it. The multiplayer has been totally redesigned, and it looks fantastic. And I was really excited for it until something happened that I guess now we're going to transition into the news with this. So if you pre-ordered the game, you got it a couple of days early. And the pre-order people, though, noticed there was some interesting things with the game, such as in-app purchases, or not in-app purchases, in-game purchases, where you could buy basically loot boxes. And with most games, you know, that's a standard, like between Overwatch, CSGO, you know, paying for loot boxes that give you, like, aesthetic stuff is common. But in Battlefront, it didn't give you aesthetic things, it gave you things that actually affected your gameplay in multiplayer. Things that either gave you more health, gave you more damage output, things like that, which I heard of and was like, oh, well, that's kind of crappy. I mean, what if you just buy a bunch of loot boxes from the start, and then instantly your level 1 character is doing as much damage as, like, a level 20 character? Like, that seems a little bit unbalanced. But that wasn't the end of it. The other thing is, there's heroes in the game and villains, which are like the Jedi and the Sith, but there's a couple of them that you have to pay for. Well, you don't have to pay for. You could earn them by playing the game, but people did the math for it, and you'd have to play over 50 hours of the game to unlock the characters, or you just buy them. So obviously, the people who had them just bought them, and they were characters like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, the characters who everyone wants to play as.
Yeah, like everyone would want to play as regardless.
Yeah, and are the best characters. So it was a little sketchy that part of the game, you paid the $60 to play the game in the first place, but then after that, you have to pay more money to get things that should really just come with the game, like characters.
Yeah, that should have just already been there.
And EA put out a Reddit post where they quote-unquote apologized, but their apology was, we appreciate games and strive to create games where you play to unlock things, but we're not changing anything with this game. And that was basically their apology. And it became the most downvoted post in Reddit history, with, I believe it was like over 600,000 or over 800,000 downvotes. So,
Jesus Christ. That's a lot.
Yeah. So, EA, message received, and then put out a statement where they removed all in-game purchases. So it's good, because that shows that they are truly listening to the people who buy their games. Last time around, they heard that people didn't like how limited it was, so they added way more stuff. Then this time around, they heard, hey, people don't like that you have to pay more than $60 for the whole game. So they were like, okay, we'll take that stuff out. So I'm glad that they're listening to the gaming community who's supporting them. And because they removed in-game purchases, I might go ahead and buy it. I'm still not sure yet, but I want to thank EA for making the right decision there and not just doing the standard EA thing they've been famous for and just caring about the money.
Congratulations, you care about more than money now.
Yeah, because I will say, in-game purchases were to an extent a problem with the first Battlefront. It wasn't the same thing with like loot boxes though and all that. I bought the deluxe edition of the game, which cost about $10 or so more dollars. I don't remember if it was $10 more or if it was, I don't remember if the game cost $70 or $100, but it was one of the upgraded packages, and you got a bunch of stuff, like you got access to the DLC, kind of that season pass thing, and you got some extra starting gear. However, the starting gear they gave you was the best gun in the game. So, I started the game already having the best gun there was in the game. And I didn't notice that until I started getting into the games and like, oh man, there's a guy, and then in 2 shots I killed them, whereas they had to put like an entire clip into me.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's like it had to be like a huge shit ton amount.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, this gun's really good. And then I looked at the like list of how you have to unlock the guns, and it was dead last. Even with, and I put quite a lot of time into that game. I still didn't come close to unlocking it if I went legit and didn't get the deluxe. So,
yeah,
having been on the side of the pay to win thing, it's a little bit meh. Like, that gun was a lot of fun to use because of how much damage it did, but the fact that everyone else had to earn it, whereas I just got handed it, was a little sketch and seemed a bit unfair. Granted,
yeah.
I'm not great at games and could have used a handicap, so. Anyway.
Fair enough.
So, thank you, EA, long story short, for doing the right thing. But speaking of EA, they also did something else recently. Titanfall is made by Respawn Entertainment, and EA was the distributor of both Titanfall and Titanfall 2. And recently, EA announced that they had just bought Respawn Entertainment. So, I just want to say that that's really cool, because the reason why the past 2 Titanfall games weren't super popular was basically EA's fault, but they were great games. So it's kind of EA saying, look, we messed up in the past, but we want you to make our games. Because the team that made Titanfall was the original team who made the first Call of Duty games. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so
that's cool.
It's cool that they're going to be getting a lot more support from EA, as opposed to just, yeah, you make the game and we'll be in charge of telling you when to sell it and selling it.
Yeah, yeah,
they're actually going to get more, like, funding for stuff, more support, and it's going to be overall, I think, better games to come out of Respawn. So I'm excited for that. I think that bodes only good things for both EA and Respawn.
Yeah.
Because with Titanfall 2, they picked the worst release date ever. Because they put it out basically at the same time as Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty, which both had way more marketing than Titanfall 2 did.
Yeah,
so,
it was bigger in that sense than...
Yeah, so Titanfall 2 got absolutely demolished, where if they put out Titanfall 2 at a less busy time, I think it would have done fantastic, because it's an amazing game. I still love playing it. So
yeah, probably would have done better in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the last thing to talk about in the news section is YouTube addressing the problems with YouTube, the YouTube Kids app, which I have a niece who watches YouTube Kids all the time. And basically what the app is all content that YouTube deems kid-friendly. And basically you just pull up the app, you search up something, and it just auto-plays videos. So you can just set it in front of a kid, and it's like TV. It'll just go on forever. But with that...
Well, I kind of wonder if there's ever, like, cases of videos that just slide under.
That's what we're going to get into. But recently,
no.
there are a lot of YouTube channels that took advantage of the algorithm YouTube uses for YouTube Kids. And that's basically just the title, the keywords, all that stuff. Which is where you got the videos that have become kind of memes and all that, of like the people in Spider-Man costumes, and Elsa costumes, and all the other kid costumes, like banging and dry humping each other.
Oh.
Those were all YouTube Kid apps.
God damn it. Why would you just do that in general, though?
Well, if you look at the titles, the titles are incoherent. They're just keywords.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can find one, but it would be like, Spider-Man, Elsa, Hulk, fun party, and then just other keywords. Like, the title would be just a long string of,
jumbled, like, like, organized mess.
Like, there are videos of characters, there's one of Venom burying Spider-Man and Elsa alive, and then shitting on their heads.
Cool. Classic.
There were animations of Frozen characters banging. And, like, all that was YouTube Kid app videos.
Sure.
So there were a lot of sketchy things to come from that. And the videos got millions upon millions of views. I think there was one that got, like, 20 million views. But if you look, there are, like, no comments, no likes, because it was on YouTube Kids, and you don't really have that ability. It just autoplays videos.
Yeah.
But just think about it as about 20 million kids watching weird videos like that.
Yeah, just weird Elsa porn.
So, YouTube basically addressed the problem by saying, like, hey, it's our algorithm, but it's learning. I'm like,
That's your response to kids possibly experiencing.
It's YouTube's classic response of, hey, we're doing our best, we'll see what we can do, but our algorithm's great.
I'm pretty sure someone would want to sue them at that point.
Yeah,
if their kid did see something like that.
Because YouTube's classic response is that they get 300 hours of data uploaded to their site every minute. But the thing is, though, that doesn't negate the fact that you still have to be accountable for what's on your website. So,
yeah.
I'll be curious to see how this changes things, because we don't want another adpocalypse. And this has been a problem for a long time. So it'll just be curious to see how this will play out long term with YouTube. Because I think part of their YouTube, you got to work on your PR. Part of their response was that, hey, people can flag the videos and it'll be age restricted, so it's all good. But with YouTube Kids, the point of YouTube Kids is you just turn it on and let it roll. So you do that so that your kids can be distracted while you do other things. So you don't really know a lot of the times what your kids are actually watching. You just trust that YouTube is playing kid-appropriate stuff. Again, I have a niece. We use YouTube Kids for her occasionally. But, after this kind of story, I always wonder, I always try and keep an eye on what she's watching on that screen, you know?
Yeah.
So, YouTube, there are a lot of people who depend on you, and I still feel that the biggest problem with YouTube is they have no immediate competition. I think just they need some form of competition to keep them in check for things like this. Because what happens if...
Pretty much.
How would YouTube react if tomorrow we woke up and there was another video platform that had none of these problems and all the big YouTubers were moving to them? You think YouTube would get their act together then? I think it's all about the fact that YouTube has no real threat to them right now. So they're taking their time solving these issues. Like, you know what? The algorithm will learn eventually. It will be fine. In the meantime, we're still making money. Because for most channels, the adpocalypse is, knock on wood, over. But I think YouTube's taking that too well, as it will never happen again. We're good. We fixed the problem. When in reality, they just covered it up with a little bit of sand. Because that whole demonetization thing doesn't work, and I don't think will work until the algorithm is perfect, which I don't know if it will be.
Nothing's perfect. Yeah, it's so why.
I don't think there's a perfect way for an algorithm to know if a video is advertiser friendly unless it can real time play through it, listen to the audio, and listen and watch to make sure. I don't think there's any way for scanning keywords in a title to be accurate in seeing if a video is advertiser friendly. So I really hope YouTube gets its act together. I say that as a fan and critic of YouTube, that I want it to be its best, and it's just not right now.
It really is not.
Yeah. So.
But when was the last time we could say that, to be honest?
Yeah, it's this year and this season of podcasts, hopefully season 2, when we cover YouTube news, will be brighter stuff. I mean, we've covered everything here from the adpocalypse to PewDiePie's N-word controversy to the PewDiePie Nazi stuff. Like, YouTube has seen better days.
It has. But you know what? You just gotta hope for better days.
Yeah. Anyway, is there anything else you want to bring up before we end the podcast? End season 1 of the J4U podcast?
The Iron Giant is the best Thanksgiving film.
Well, okay then. I guess I'll give one final shout out to the boxers I wore on Tuesday, because I was gonna include this in the intro, but I forgot, so I guess I'll tell the story now. So,
Incorporation.
So the dickhead who made the boxers that I wore that day, and it was such a problem that am remembering it now, days later.
Yeah.
You know how boxers normally have that fly that overlaps?
Yeah.
It doesn't overlap on that pair. It's like the freaking automatic doors at your local Walmart. They just go and open and close. That's basically that. So, and the worst part, the fuckhead who made them, like, must have knew. Like, so they look identical to every other pair of boxers I own, except there's no, like, overlay in the flap. They're just, they just meet together. And that's it. And instead of like that, it's like that. So I put them on, and I don't even normally realize it until I go to sit down, and then automatic doors, quick, just hang open, and it's like, well, gotta deal with that now. Then I stand back, and they try and close, but there's something blocking it.
Yep. I actually have boxes that are kind of like that.
Yep. So it's that constant game of readjusting every time you sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up. And then the last time I wore the boxers before this week, I wore them with the pair of shorts that I'm wearing right now. And these shorts are very tight, you know? They're great in some regards, but they're horrible, especially when you're sitting down, like I am right now. They make my ass look fantastic, though. But anyway,
I guess there's that. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm not the kind of person to do that, but it looks pretty nice in these shorts. Anyway, but last time I wore those boxers was in these shorts, and sitting down was the most uncomfortable thing ever, because it was wearing tight-ass shorts and boxers that had just no overlap. So it was just like.
Yeah.
It was like being in a really tight tunnel, like those tunnels where you can't look behind you if you're crawling through. It was like that, only for the lower half of my body.
Yeah.
It was a different head that couldn't turn around and look and see what was behind it.
Yeah.
So just shout out to the dickhead who designs those boxers purely for the sake of fucking people. Like, there's no one who has a penis that small that it would be totally fine. Like, you could have a micro... What?
The dickhead?
Exactly. That was the point. But... Like, I don't think anyone, even with, like, a micro penis, like, the automatic door will still detect it and go, whack, and open up.
You're good.
Like...
It's the same door that detects all of YouTube Kids' algorithms.
Yeah, like...
It's like, you're good.
But, like, I don't get the mindset behind that. Like, how stupid do you have to be when designing a pair of boxers not to leave room for the thing that's in them? Because they're men's boxers, too. Like... Yeah,
like, they're made specifically for that.
Yeah, so, I don't know what was going through that guy's mind to go, nah, you're fine. Maybe he's... the person I talked to last about this was maybe he sized him on himself, and he had nothing down there.
Well,
but like,
I guess,
like, normally,
I like to think like this guy did it as like an April Fool's joke, but it's only now coming to you now.
I honestly think that, like, that would make more sense, cause like
it's a delayed April Fool's joke.
Anyway, that's the note that I want to end season 1 of the J4U podcast on. So thank you guys for joining us on 30 fantastic episodes. We really appreciate it. I know I do. Raphael has not been with us the past several podcasts, but he will most likely be returning on episode 1.
He will be in our hearts.
Yeah, but
I will remember you.
I'm really excited for season 2 of the J4U podcast. And I hope to see you guys there. Thank you for making season 1 so great. And Luke, any final thoughts?
Potato salad, turkey, ham, rolls, Hawaiian rolls, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, you guys, and we'll see you on season 2. Stay classy.
Give more than thanks.
Yep. Give love and a like to this video, please. Anyway, stay classy. Later. Woo!